This is marriage wisdom I've learned living wife life in a long marriage. Let me talk about something real today. A lot of people say they want peace in their marriage. They want calm, they want stability, they want emotional safety. But what I've learned is that peace does not just show up. Peace is something you build. Peace is built with daily decisions, small decisions, unpopular decisions, sometimes uncomfortable decisions. Peace is built when you learn emotional control, when you learn not to react to everything, when you learn not to argue every point, when you learn that every disagreement does not require a full conversation. Nobody teaches emotional discipline anymore. People are taught how to react. They're taught how to defend. They're taught how to clap back. They are taught how to stand on pride. But they're not taught how to preserve connection. I've learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause before you respond. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. I've learned that sometimes tone matters more than content. I've learned that sometimes timing matters more than truth. And I've learned that how you say something can determine whether it builds your marriage or damages it. There were moments in my own marriage where I had to ask myself, do I want to be right or do I want peace? Because you don't always get both. You can be technically correct and still destroy the atmosphere of your house. You can win the argument and still lose the emotional connection. Long marriages are built by people who learn emotional maturity over time, not perfection, not silence, not submission, but wisdom. Wisdom says, this issue is important. Let's talk. This issue is small. Let it go. This moment needs calm, not confrontation. This moment needs patience, not pressure. I believe a lot of marriages fail not because love disappeared, but because wisdom never developed. People get tired, they get worn down, they stop feeling emotional safety, they stop feeling understood, they stop feeling respected. And that breakdown usually starts in the smallest daily interaction: tone, attitude, timing, and response. If your spouse is still present, still in the home, still trying in their own way, still showing some form of love, there is still something to protect. And protecting your marriage does not mean tolerating abuse. It does not mean ignoring harm. It does not mean losing yourself. It means learning discernment. It means learning emotional intelligence. It means learning how to handle situations with maturity instead of reaction. Every home has its own rhythm. Every marriage has its own dynamics. That's why I always say figure out what works in your house, what softens communication in your home, what creates distance in your home, what brings calm in your home, what creates tension. Pay attention to these patterns. Then start choosing differently, not once, not occasionally, but consistently. That's how peace is built. That's how trust is built. That's how connection is built. That's how longevity is built. not through perfection, but through daily wisdom. And daily wisdom looks different in every house. What works in my marriage might not work in your marriage. That's why I tell people all the time, don't copy what I do. Learn the principles behind what I do. The principle is this: I pay attention to my house. I pay attention to my husband. I pay attention to what builds connection and what creates distance. Some people watch me fix breakfast for Jake and think the breakfast is the point. The breakfast is not the point. The point is paying attention. The point is care. The point is consistency. The point is effort. That might look like cooking in my house. In your house, that might look like listening. It might look like encouragement. It might look like patience. It might look like respect. It might look like time. But the wisdom is the same. Figure out what your spouse actually responds to and be intentional about that. A lot of people are trying to follow marriage advice without learning their own spouse. You can't use somebody else's marriage formula on your relationship. You have to study your own house. You have to ask yourself, what softens my spouse? What makes them feel seen? What makes them feel respected? What makes them feel appreciated? What makes them shut down? Those answers matter more than anything you hear online, because marriage is not about winning debates. It's not about proving points. It's not about showing dominance. It's about learning another human being deeply. That takes time. That takes humility. That takes maturity. And nobody teaches that part anymore. Everybody teaches self expression. Very few people teach self discipline. Everybody teaches boundaries. Very few people teach emotional intelligence. Everybody teaches independence. Very few people teach interdependence. But long marriages are built on interdependence. Two people learning each other, two people adjusting to each other, two people growing together instead of apart. That's why I don't believe in this idea that everything should feel easy all the time. Healthy doesn't always feel easy. Healthy feels intentional. Healthy feels aware. Healthy feels thoughtful. Sometimes healthy feels uncomfortable because you're learning new patterns. You're breaking old habits and choosing maturity over ego. That's growth. And growth doesn't feel good all the time, but it produces peace later. A lot of people choose temporary satisfaction over long term stability. They want to say what they feel immediately. They want to react immediately. They want to be validated immediately. They want relief immediately. But they don't think about what that pattern produces over time. Because everything you practice repeatedly becomes the culture of your home. If you practice patience, you build patience into your home. If you practice criticism, you build tension into your home. If you practice respect, you build safety into your home. If you practice emotional chaos, you build instability in your home. None of that happens overnight. It happens slowly over years. That's why I believe so strongly in being intentional about the small things, not perfection, just intentional. You're going to mess up sometimes. You're going to get frustrated sometimes. You're going to say things wrong sometimes. That's human. But wisdom is recognizing it and choosing better the next time. That's growth. That's maturity. That's how long marriages are built. That's why I share these conversations. Not because my marriage is perfect, but because I've lived long enough to learn what strengthens relationships and what slowly damages them. Because marriages aren't destroyed by big moments. Most of the time, they're destroyed by small patterns repeated over years. If these words help even one person pause before reacting, choose wisdom before emotions, choose connection before pride, then it's worth sharing. And I thank you for taking time to view my video, for taking time to listen to my video. And if this is your vibe, please subscribe and follow for more. Thank you.